So, is this the end of the road for Humza? Something I hadn't considered in the last few weeks until actually the last few days when I've been hearing mutterings of how displeased some of the MPs in Westminster are about their leader, Humza Yousaf. And when you consider the amount of issues surrounding the party in such a small space of time, and the leadership, or lack of it, that is shown by Humza Yousaf, you can probably understand why MPs are getting a little bit frustrated with him as a leader. And let's not kid ourselves on. These people aren't the purest of pure and just, oh, this is terrible things and we really need to, for the good of Scotland or the good of even the SNP, we need to consider this man's leadership. These are people who have genuine fears that they won't be voted in at the next election. So, let's not forget that. And to be fair, over the last few elections, particularly 2 ago, being an SNP candidate for Westminster was almost a guaranteed salary. It was shooty in. It's done a wee bit less last general election than they did 2 ago, but if you remember, was it the Lion Roars and they were all going to go down and sort out the United Kingdom and all these big photos of them all outside in the grounds of Westminster? They'd done nothing actually, but that was the way it was portrayed, and the amount of them was phenomenal. They had, to be fair to them, they convinced a lot of people to vote for them, which was quite surprising because of the nonsense they talked. But so if you're an MP for the SNP in Westminster right now, you're probably thinking you're in borrowed time. Let's be honest with you, I think it's the next 12 months there's going to be a general election in Westminster. And if you look at the polls and the general feeling towards the SNP right now, you're an SNP MP, you ain't confident that you're going to get returned. Look at some of the swings in some of the by-elections, and I know by-elections can sometimes throw up sort of protest votes and things, so I'm not that daft, but it is considerable, some of the swings that could potentially happen, and a lot of these people about a job. So, I totally respect that they are considering making moves to change their leadership, but let's not fool ourselves. Their motives are not pure. Their motives are very selfish, but they're motives nonetheless. And if you look at the amount of things that have became issues over the last short period, we've now got cash for candidates issues. Now, they might not be directly attributed to Humza, but they're happening under his leadership. And there's lots of reports of certain constituents, say candidates, being given that space through the party being given large donations on their behalf and things like that. And there's even talk of candidates giving other possible candidates money to stand down and stand against them. You've also got, is it Anu her name is? A girl she's quite, I think she's one of Humza's favourites. And you've got the case just now where the local council candidate, who was very popular in the area, couldn't believe how she was just dropped in, parachuted in, and became the MP for his constituency, where he felt that the local party had wanted him to be the candidate for the election, which Anun won, and she's now an MP down in Westminster. Things like that. And then, don't know if they're tied at all, you've got this COVID sex scandal going on, which a lot of people were quite happy to say, oh, what does it matter, people having affairs? May or may not be your standards where they are, I don't know. And some people feel that politicians having affairs isn't a big problem at all. But the fact that it happened during COVID, apparently twice, in 2020 and 21, when there was 2 lockdowns and these people were meeting outside their bubble while you and I were not seeing our friends, families, loved ones, and old folk were stuck in homes without visitors, yet these people, allegedly, were having sex with people outside their bubble. You've got this £150,000 that's been donated recently to Gaza, which nobody can seem to give us any indication where that came from, and the allowed amounts of money that the Scottish Government are allowed to give out as foreign aid. They just gave it no, no explanation where it came from. And that happened 24 hours. Sorry, the second part of the £750,000 came 24 hours before Humza's parents, in-laws, were released from Gaza, and they were the first group of people to enable to get out of Gaza 24 hours after the Scottish Government had paid the second part of £750,000 donation to Gaza. Then you've got the COP farce, where, he done a Nicola Sturgeon, he was there getting selfies and not really there in any official capacity, just want to photo ops and talk nonsense to people, where apparently he had 5 meetings where he broke the Scotland Act protocols. Scotland Act was the bill that was passed to give Scotland a government, and part of that it says that if any Scottish minister is meeting any other foreign minister about anything foreign policy, because that's not a devolved power, then there had to be someone there from the UK government. And there was the big one which hit the papers was the Turkey, meeting the Turkish president. But apparently there was 5 instances at the COP event. So you put all these things together, you can understand why lots of people within the SNP might be thinking, is this leadership issue? And this guy who, for example, nobody has been able to talk to Humza about the allegations about 2 politicians in his party having sex, 2 married people having sex out, extramarital sex during COVID. Nobody spoke to him about that. So he's not come out and spoke about it. So all these things mount up, and we'll lose the SNP votes come the next general election. So then in turn, if you're an SNP Member of Parliament in Westminster, he could be influencing your next pay packet. There were reports yet last night of emergency meetings with high-ranking SNP officials to discuss today his future. Now these allegations may be true or not true, I don't know, but there's been suggestions made from quoted sources within the SNP that there are discussions today about the leadership of the party. And then you look at Katie Forbes, she played a blinder. Now, see Katie Forbes is a person that I actually have a bit of faith in, probably the only member of the Scottish National Party that I would have any faith in. As things stand just now, the Scottish Parliament is there to do its best for the Scottish people. That's what it was created for. However, what it's turned into is a stocking shop about independence. And I've said for long enough that if they just stop talking about independence for a wee while, maybe a year or 2, and just get on with governing using the powers they have got, try and make Scotland a better place, which is actually the second part of their agenda. The first thing will always be independence. And I actually genuinely believe that Katie Forbes could potentially be a half-decent leader if she was allowed to stop pandering to the separatists that all they want to talk about is independence and just actually govern. She seems like somebody that's actually got some scruples about her. And I thought it was very funny the way her leadership campaign was derailed by a completely ridiculous item on the agenda. And she was asked about, she's a Christian, nobody has to Google that, it's well known fact. She was asked how she would vote hypothetically on subjects like same-sex marriage and things like that, and some sort of transgender issues and stuff, which, to be honest with you, with somebody with her faith, you probably wouldn't need to ask her to know what her answer would be. And it was sort of portrayed that she was some sort of bad candidate because of that. And I found this completely hilarious, because nobody gave Humza the same sort of questions. Now let me tell you, on the gender reforms, Humza didn't vote for that. He didn't vote for those things to happen. What Humza did the day that the bill was going through Parliament, Scottish Parliament, he had a meeting with one of the Muslim leaders. So he was out of Parliament that day, which is very comfortable, because his religious beliefs would have, if he purely done them for religious reasons, he would not have been able to vote in that bill. and he would have been demonised. So he didn't turn up that day. Yet Katie Forbes, who wasn't to vote on that at that time, was asked hypothetically what would you have done if you were to vote on that. And she gave an honest answer. But Humza was never asked the same question. And he actually didn't vote on it at all, which is bizarre. And to be honest with you, I would be quite comfortable, I need to say, if Katie Forbes was the leader of the SNP and she was just going to go and, you know, try and get a 2 or 3 year window of just governing the country with the powers they've had, I would think she'd do an alright job, to be perfectly honest with you. And that's me speaking as someone who absolutely detests the SNP and a proud unionist. I think she would be a safe pair of hands, and she would probably put the Scottish country, the Scottish people at the front of our thinking, and not turn every single item on the agenda into, let's blame Westminster, let's use that as a call for independence, let's talk about material change, let's have de facto referendums, all that's nonsense. I actually genuinely believe Katie Forbes would probably just go ahead and try and run the country, which is what they're paid for. But is it the end for Humza? Reading between the lines, I can understand why. A lot of people maybe a wee bit paranoid about their own position as MPs, thinking probably a better bet with a different leader that might encourage people to vote SNP as opposed to what he's doing just now, and that's turning voters against SNP. And how do I know that as a fact? Go and read the comments at the bottom of some of my videos. There is swathes of people coming in who either want independence or have voted SNP in the past, who have had enough, and they are vowing never to vote for them again. That's costing people at Westminster their jobs, because the likelihood is they will not get voted back at the next general election for Westminster. So, interesting times. Who knows what happens next with the SNP? Do we start seeing people arrested? Do we see another leadership campaign? I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing. See, for a guy who does vlogs on the stupid things that the SNP do, I don't need to search for. So thanks very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button and have a lovely day. Thank you.